So let's start off the show talking a little bit about the Houston Texans, a team. Let's not forget that 2 years ago we're leading the eventual champs, the Kansas City Chiefs, 24-0 going into the second quarter of their playoff game. And ever since that point, it has really unraveled for them. So let's talk a little bit about it. I couldn't talk about the Texans without bringing up the trade with the Miami Dolphins, which means that they don't have a first round pick this year. They didn't have one last year. They don't have a second round pick either. All for Laramie Tunsil and Kenny Stills. It seems now that that was a ill-conceived trade at the time. I know a lot of people were saying it's kind of up in the air, considering that, of course, you got to protect Deshaun Watson. Deshaun Watson was considered the future of the franchise at that time. And in order to protect him, you need a solid left tackle. And I think Laramie Tunsil is that. He got a big contract extension after last season. And ever since then, it's really just blown up. Of course, Bill O'Brien, he was released from relieved of his duties as head coach. A bunch of other players, very, very significantly, DeAndre Hopkins was traded to the Arizona Cardinals. We went on to have just a great season, and the Texans really didn't have a good season at all, but that's well covered. So, of course, going into this offseason, it definitely felt like the old regime was being pushed out entirely. There was a lot of drama. Deshaun Watson wants to trade out, very understandably so. But it wasn't Deshaun Watson who was on the move. No, instead, we got word that J.J. Watt would be released, not even traded. Would you think you would have thought that they could get something for J.J. Watt? But alas, it was not to be. So Watt will finish his Texans career as probably the greatest Texan of all time. The big knock against Watt was that he was often injured, but really he missed parts in, I guess, most of 2016, a good part of 2017, and some of 2019. But he was still able to tally 101 career sacks and is a 5-time Pro Bowler and 5-time All-Pro, as well as being one of the, icons of Houston sports, working to raise money after one of the hurricanes that really hit Houston quite hard. So this is more than just a star player being released. This is a cornerstone of a franchise moving on. And I do think it's interesting that they didn't try to trade him. Granted, he's coming off a down season, or really 2 down seasons for his standards. And there may not have been a huge push. They certainly weren't getting a first round pick for him, but I thought a mid-round pick could have been in the cards, but I guess they would rather try to allow this player who meant so much to the franchise and to their history to pursue, wherever he wants to go. And right now, rumor has it that that's the Chicago Bears, which is a little surprising to me just because it's not really clear who their quarterback is going to be. Probably not Mitch Trubisky. Granted, they were a playoff team, but they were a playoff team by virtue of the extra seed in the playoffs this year. And when they played the Saints, they didn't look good. It was not fun. Nickelodeon tried its best to make it look fun, but I saw a lot of people on Twitter say they may have been turning off some of the younger fans by presenting them with a Bears game. So I'd be surprised if he went to the Bears. Granted, that defense is quite good, and him being kind of a spot pass rusher on the other side of Khalil Mack, that's certainly intriguing. But if I had to bet, I would say that he was going to go to the Steelers. Watch this. This episode comes out, and he's already signed somewhere, be it the Bears or somewhere else. But I thought it was very interesting that they got rid of J.J. Watt for nothing. For goodwill, I guess. But it's probably hard to be a Texans fan, especially since Deshaun Watson has made it very clear that he has little to no interest in continuing on with this franchise, which is understandable. And I know a lot of people are saying, well, why does J.J. Watt get released and Deshaun Watson doesn't? I mean, it's J.J. Watt is at the end of his career. He's not as valuable. Yeah, they could have gotten a mid-round pick, but Deshaun Watson has a large contract, and Deshaun Watson is really good. So if they're going to move on from Deshaun Watson, which I'm not necessarily convinced that they want to, he's going to command quite a deal, especially with what Stafford got traded for. It almost makes a trade for Deshaun Watson untenable certainly for most teams. And with word that the Dolphins are committing to Tua moving forward, I think that really leaves the Jets as the only place. And then it becomes, how do you leverage that, no real competition versus what Deshaun Watson is inherently worth? It's a very interesting situation that we're seeing develop. And if I had to guess, I would say that he probably will not be traded. I'd like to be proven wrong, because I don't really wish to see the Texans waste such a talented player. I think there's no real good reason for Deshaun Watson to stay in Houston. That team is a mess, and I think they're going to be a mess moving forward. So Texans fans, I'm quite sorry. And hey, it's the NFL. Things can change quite quickly because, as we all know, the Dolphins were the worst team to ever take the field just 2 years ago, and they were knocking on the door of the playoffs this year. So it seems like a long shot for that to be the case for the Texans, but you never know. Keep hope alive, and maybe trade Deshaun Watson to someone other than the Jets, because I do not want to see the Jets put Deshaun Watson against my Dolphins. That would suck. Hey, thank you so much for checking out this clip. If you want to hear the full show, check it out on iTunes or Spotify. Link in the description down below, or just search Wicked Good Sports. Of course, this comes out at the end of the week as a full episode, where you can just listen on YouTube if you prefer to have the video. Other than that, make sure you subscribe for more clips, and we will see you in the next one.